Hey everyone, Eggman here with a special guest, Div. How you doing, Div?
I'm doing amazing, Eggman. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're going to talk about some Riftbound today. You've been doing a lot of just playing. I know you're really into it. You're going to the December event in just under a month from
Yes.
now. I think it's like 3 weeks away. It's really coming up, huh?
I know. I'm trying to get as much practice as I can with my decks because it's just around the corner. Who knows? We might even get a new meta shift in NA because I know in China it's all Kai'Sa and Yi.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe in NA we might have something different. Doesn't look like it from the Nexus nights going on,
Sure.
but there might be a few surprises.
Yeah, yeah, and so something that we've done, and I leaning on your side for the we, is we've been trying to keep up the tournament deck list page on Eggman Events pretty up to date. So I think we just hit about 100 deck lists we've added, and we've added quite a few from the last week or so of Nexus Nights and a couple other events that have kind of happened around the world since the release on the English version. And obviously, it's not like every winner deck, and obviously, I think we've passed on some like Master Yi and Kai'Sa decks because we know that those are pretty good in what they look like. But there have been a lot of people with successes with, I'd say, a little bit like tier 1.5 decks and stuff, and I want to focus on some of those as well. So and if you guys want to check out any of these deck lists, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events, which is linked to the description. We're going to keep this up to date as much as we can. If you guys do like really well at like a Nexus Nights or something and you want your deck list on this page, you can find either me or Div on Twitter. You can message us and we can do our best to add that for you guys. And also make sure to check out GG Haven. They've been making a lot of content for the Riftbound card game, and I would not be able to be anywhere near as like understood on Riftbound without you. And you guys just finished doing a beginner's guide for every legend in the game, right?
Yep. Every legend in the game as of yet. Hopefully when Set 2 comes out, we'll be back on the grind on that again.
Yes, yeah. But really great guides for anyone trying to get into some of these legends as well. So we chose, I think, what was it, 6 different legends though that we wanted to go into for this one, and we are just going to start with Kai'Sa. Just as like an overview, just to make sure you guys know it. We're not going to spend a lot of time on Kai'Sa. You guys probably have seen it and been like, all right, I get what this legend says I lose. I get it. That's fine. But what was like a standard build in your mind, Div, for a lot of this, right? What do you got to
So
look out for?
So again, this build you can see like Falling Star is a key. I think you need to run at least 3 of in this deck. It's such an easy deal 3 to a unit and you do it twice. You can choose 2 units or 1 unit. Very good early ping. Get the early aggression only for 2 cost.
Mm-hmm.
Plus it's 2 recycling, which one of them, your Kai'Sa leader, can be used as to add a resource, right? So it's a very early aggressive card that can help you basically gain board dominance without even having units on the board. The other card I would say is Pouty Poro.
Mm-hmm.
It's very annoying. It is a 2 cost. It has deflect, right?
Yeah.
So you can give it cleave to make it a 5 while trying to attack a battlefield for a showdown, and it gets very annoying because if your opponent tries to choose it, it has deflect, so they'll have to pay extra recycling costs, which kind of puts some opponents on the part where, you know what? Fine, you got it. Like I don't want to wait any resources. So that early game pressure, you give your opponent a choice whether they want to be on the back foot for the rest of the game or whether they want to give me an early lead, right? So
Yeah.
that's why I think those cards are good. And I think one of the best cards in Kai'Sa, without which I think any Kai'Sa deck is lacking, is definitely the Thousand Tailed Watcher. I
Oh,
think the
sure.
Thousand Tailed Watcher, even though it's a rare, is an amazing card. You can accelerate it, gives -3 to all units on the enemy units on the board, right? And one of the cool techs that a lot of folks have figured out with Thousand Tailed Watcher is if you ping a unit for damage. So let's say there's a 4 might character and you use, let's do Void Seeker for example,
Sure.
right? You deal 4 to a unit. Let's say there's a 5 might character. You deal 4 to a unit, it still has 1 might of damage left. So technically it has a damage of 4 on it. If you played a Thousand Watcher, you're reducing the might of that character from the initial 5 to a 2, right? So
Yeah.
now when you play the Void Seeker, it's still, you play the Thousand Tailed Watcher, it still has the 4 damage counter from before, so it dies. And there's not much your opponent can do as a reaction to you playing a card except just buffing the unit to make sure potentially he might play a Thousand Tailed Watcher to delete it.
Mm-hmm.
And if and you're also kind of like baiting those spells out. So I think that's why Thousand Tailed Watcher is really good in this deck.
Yeah, and just to clarify, obviously it works in the other direction too, right?
Yes.
But it's just being able to kind of bait out those interactions are nice. Yeah, I think if pressed as someone who's doesn't have as much experience as you, I would say this is probably the best card in the game right now. If
Yeah.
you are playing Mind, there's no reason to play any less than 3 copies of this card in any of your builds. And it is just absurd how good this card is at just giving -3 might to like everything on the board without like it doesn't target, it doesn't care which area you do. The fact that you can accelerate, like there are like few situations where I'm like, oh well, I have this card in my hand, I can take any battlefield that I want, right? It's very, very tough to interact with this one. I know like some people are like obviously Falling Star has been really strong and like Void Seeker too, but like this card, like I fear like is the card that I think there's like less interaction with
Yeah.
currently. So
Yeah.
yeah, especially because I don't think there's anything that prevents you from losing bite, right? There's no like protection and that kind of effects right now, right?
No, because you can't defy it, right? Because it's not a spell.
Yeah.
What your opponents would have to do, and correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but from my understanding of playing the game, what your opponents could do as a precursor is discipline, let's say, to give it +2 might to their units.
Oh, sure.
Uh potentially thinking that I might play a Thousand Tailed Watcher, but for that, I'll have to do something else before for them to react to it.
Hmm.
But if I'm not doing anything to react to it, they're just gonna take the -3 might. Like it's hard for them to do anything.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, those are kind of the key cards to focus on. If especially like the other thing is that like, oh, if you want to try to defend a spot and put all your cards in one location, just realize that if you have 3 cards, this is going to make you lose 9 might essentially, as long as there
Yeah.
are 3 or more or 4 or more. So, do be careful about it. I know people are still debating if this card is broken or not broken, but it can win games. We only have 1 signature spell in the main, which I don't know how like if this is like a price gap for some people too, because I know it's expensive. I'd say that Thousand Watcher and Darius are 2 more
Yes.
important. This card's obviously strong. Run 1 or 2 copies if you own it, but don't feel bad if you don't. If you want to try playing this deck, and again, like yeah, honestly, this deck is really about rares. Like I think you can play this deck with rares or lower. It's just that those particular rares are still like really
Yeah.
expensive. So
I do not run a Cathian Rain in my main deck. It's part of my side deck.
sure. Which I think
I
in this
run
build they were
yeah, yeah.
playing yeah, just one in the side, one in the main. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I run Thermo Beam, which this player has used in their sideboard.
Oh, sure.
Basically, you can kill all gear.
Mm.
Just because Kaisa's toughest matchup sometimes can be Aurora E or Aurora MF.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So essentially, if you have an Aurora, I guess it's going to the trash once I play this. So it kind of that's why I've teched this in instead of the Cathian Rain, just so but it's only one of, right? So
Sure.
just to make sure that I kill the gear. But yeah.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about Set 2 a lot in this video, but it's pretty clear that there's a chance that gear cards become a lot more relevant in those sets. So something like this could be a really good way to interact with that. So any of our like cards that deal with gear, think about them in the future too with the reveals we've seen as well. So cool. All right. I still think we talked 1 more minute than I wanted for Kaisa, but you guys have seen it. There we go. You guys, we'll have timestamps for all the legends as well in the description, so you guys can skip to the ones you really want to see and talk about. But we've got now 2 different Fury and Chaos legends here. We're going to start off with Jinx, which I've seen a lot of people try to tackle this deck, and we've got this build here from AliEldrazi for this one, and it's kind of a more, I'd say, like late game deck than I've kind of seen. A lot of people play low to the ground, but this one has more of a late game strategy, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. Jinx is the poster child for Riot after Arcane came out.
Sure.
So, there are a lot of Arcane fans who are coming to this card game because of Jinx, right?
Sure.
Again, her legend effect is, at the start of your turn, you draw one if you have 1 or fewer cards. So essentially the whole idea with Jinx is to be less than 1 card or at no cards.
Yeah.
What this player has done very, very well is they've started to run this card called Sun Disk, which is a gear. Essentially, the next unit you play this turn into is ready. It's a Legion effect. So a deck that already runs a lot of accelerate kind of units now has a way to even accelerate more of their units, right?
Yeah.
So what I can see is they have an early game to get a few points, then stay back a little, build up their trash, and then if you go late game, they have this card called the Harrowing. Basically, essentially, you play a unit from trash, ignoring its energy cost. A really good card to play out the two other big units that they're running, which is Rasa the Sunderer or Volibear. If I would play this deck, honestly, I would trash a Volibear anytime I saw it in my hand,
Yeah.
and then play it out with Harrowing, combine it with Sundisk to ready it, and now you have a Volibear ready to wreak havoc on a battlefield.
Yeah.
I would think that would be. I can't wait to see that in a game. If someone did that to me, I would just be very proud. That would be a really cool moment.
Yeah. So like, and the other thing too is that like, you want our hand sizes to be smaller. So having a lot of gear makes sense. So we've got like the, 3 of each of the seals, which, helps us like, we have so many effects that I think we want to, do the recycle of our runes with. So that gets around, you pay it once and then never again kind of thing. Scrap heap as well, just being able to get some draws and some potential ways to discard it later. I'd be kind of tempted to run like 2 copies of this card, even though like you likely won't use it more than once. The fact that you have so much cycle and discard makes a lot of sense. We haven't talked about flame choppers, but the fact that we have so many discards, we can just play it off of our discard there is nice. One thing I've made this mistake previously, so I do want to clarify this, and you guys are probably laughing about it. Stacking deck, the 2 cards otherwise, they go to the bottom of the deck. They don't go into your trash. The word recycle I need to know in this game, it means is bottom of the deck of the area. So recycling runes also same kind of thing, but because otherwise this would be super broken in Jinx. Like, oh, draw 1, put 2 in trash that I can interact with later. Sure, don't if you need me to. So, but yeah, I think that the Harrowing combo seems really, really fun in this deck.
And again, it's not your fault, right? We've grown in the society that you need to recycle your trash, right?
Yes,
one of the cool
that's the eco consciousness in me. That's what
exactly.
I'm trying to what I try to say. But yeah, I think like this deck is moderately cheap. The invert timelines I think has been a little bit expensive. There are a good amount of chaos decks that do use this, so that might be a little bit trickier. I'd say that this is not like a hard need for this deck though. If you want to play this deck, the Harrowing and the Ryza are probably 2 of the most. Volibear, I don't know how expensive this card is actually, so I could be surprised about it, but I think like this is mostly there are some like some misfortune decks that play it. Volibear itself isn't super popular right now, so I don't think this. My hope is this card is probably not too bad if you want to have like a good late game for a deck like this one.
Yeah, it's like $7.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That I was gonna say under 10 would be great. So like this being like the majority of your cost for $20 for this deck, I would assume outside of invert timelines is not too bad. Actually, the seals might be expensive. I haven't seen these really go really expensive though.
10 to 15, the purple and red ones, because the red one, Kaisa, you don't use it. Right. The only deck you would use it is in Jinx or sometimes Annie or MF, right? So
Gotcha. Okay, so maybe a little bit more expensive than I was thinking, but this is definitely, I haven't seen like this build of it before, but I think like there are like the chances for, and this build could exist for a long time. I won't admit to be like on the pulse with the meta all the time, but like being able to play cards from your trash, being able to kind of have like this early game aggression, and then have like this way to still get into the late game cards seems really fun. It's a really, really cool build. So. All right, there's the build here from Ali. Congratulations for doing well in their event there. And then we've also got Annie. So you've mentioned this before. This is kind of like a budget build of Kaisa in the sense that it's Fury and Chaos, not Fury and Mind, but like the early aggression and both decks like really lean on the Fury side a lot. Make it that kind of ability for Annie.
Yeah, and essentially, like I think the one thing about Annie is basically at the end of your turn, ready 2 runes. All Kaisa decks run a battlefield that base called Tarragon's Peak, where if you conquer it, you ready 2 runes at the end of the turn, which actually helps Kaisa a lot. So essentially, your leader is basically doing what your battlefield would be doing without you conquering it. So it's a very reaction heavy deck. from the get-go. One of the cool things they're running is basically, I think they're running a card called Flash, which is the most expensive common on
Yeah,
the market
but
right now.
with a big asterisk next to it, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
And maybe here just to mention it more, this deck is like kind of budget in the sense if you got a proving ground set, this is I think a really good way to build this a deck like this one. I do know that those are kind of rare. Some people are having a hard time. I know that like Master Yi is also in that, so people have been leaning into Master Yi as well. But if you end up getting a proving ground set, I think Annie can be like a really good deck out the box that you get two of these in the set. I'm not sure if they play a third one, if they did have a third one kind of deal. But other than that, like the deck is really cheap as long as you did get that single copy of the Proving Grounds.
Yep. And you can also see like one of the things that they're running is Vi.
Yeah.
Vi champion unit basically, has ganking. You recycle one from trash because you're such a reaction heavy deck. You're gonna have cards in your trash to recycle to give Vi that extra boost for you to do damage. Essentially, you pair a cleave with it, which is a spell that gives a unit assault 3. So essentially, that's a heavy combo. You're going in with about 7 might into a battlefield. You have other spells to basically lower them out, like Hextech Ray, which is deal 3 to a unit at a battlefield. You have Gust, just blow them away. So it's a very tempo control deck, from my understanding. The other card, which honestly, if I ever would play a purple deck, I would keep the card in it, is Rebuke. Such an amazing card. It is so tough to deal with sometimes because most players will make sure that their control or their opponent has tapped out or it cannot counter the spell to play it. And sometimes it really hurts to see your big Darius or your big Kaiser come back to your hand, knowing full well that if you could have held that position for one more
One more
turn,
turn, yeah.
you would have had it. And it returns any unit. So it can return a 1 might unit to a 45 might unit. There's no restriction on it.
Yeah, the other
That's
thing
why I
is that
think
with
it's
it costing 2, you can't defy it either because it's you
yes.
have to recycle 2, which normally is more of a cost than a benefit, but that is a silver lining for it too. So
And then a lot of people who haven't seen this card, just because I don't know if people have it, but it's the Vayne. It's tough because we were talking about this, and you said like I might be the only person who has the playset of this card.
yeah.
But essentially, this card is really good because if an opponent controls a battlefield, you enter ready. So essentially, because your deck runs so many spells, you kind of want them to take a battlefield. You use your spells to get them out of that. Play the Vayne first, so
Yeah.
she enters ready. Get them out of that battlefield with her and your spells combined.
Yeah.
And when basically, if you conquer that battlefield, you can just tap one and get her back into your hand and do the same cycle again next turn.
Yeah, so it's
So
really
she's a
good for
really
like
cool.
gaining points, right? And so like
Yes, yeah,
I think like the end game for this is that like one, you get to 7 points, and then I don't think it's like too outrageous to gain both
yeah,
battlefields with this deck, and then or you just kind of bunker up on one at the end and just hope they don't have any way to push you off of it. So
yeah, yeah.
um
Uh, the other thing is the Annie Fury card, which is the champion card. Your spells and abilities deal bonus damage,
oh, this
and
one.
it's
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the way
yeah,
to
yeah,
top.
this
Yeah,
one.
and so essentially, this deck has the two battlefields that Kai'Sa runs, right?
Mhm.
So this one is Void Gate. Void Gate is a battlefield where your spells deal more damage. They don't have it in here, but the Kai'Sa decks run it.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, this Annie champion does that for you, right? Your spells and abilities deal one bonus damage. So having her on the field and just make sure that you don't have her on the field just to use the effect because your opponents will target it for sure, will try
Mhm.
to get rid of it, right? But having this before you use your spells for that extra bit of flavor and spice could go a long way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Just that extra damage makes a lot of sense. So now this is
Yeah.
dealing 4 damage. And as you mentioned, so you're saying that Annie gets the benefit of all the battlefields every game that,
Yep.
Kai'Sa's wanting to run. And the fact that, it's more flexible, right? You just get 2 runes every turn, and you also get to, um, you know, the fact that you do one more damage to that battlefield, right? That's I think is the one that you mentioned, Kaisa, Void Gate, yeah, as you mentioned here. So the
Yes.
fact that you can be like, well, every battlefield is Void Gate now, so I can just
Yes.
do one more damage there. That does make a lot of sense. So like this though
Yeah.
does 3 damage, right? So
Yeah.
that's way better in those sense, and you don't have to like lose you don't have to recycle a rune for it. So not
Exactly.
too bad there. All
Yeah.
right. Well, I don't think I have much more to say about this one. Yeah, very low to the ground,
Mhm.
right? But you do have like a lot of good removal. You have like the one
Yeah.
copy of Darius. I think if you have like 2 copies of this one I know is like one of the like mildly more expensive rares.
It has gotten down because everyone has started to buy the alternate art version of it.
Oh,
So
good,
it's
good.
yeah. So it has gone to sub 10 now.
Hmm.
It's below 10 now. I remember it was 40 at one point,
Yeah.
but it has gone sub 10 now. And again, like for everyone watching, like the prices of cards will eventually most likely go down
Hmm.
because as more and more cards come into circulation. So don't worry if you just bookmark this video, save this video, come back to it later and see what deck you want to build and then test it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For sure. But this one looks really fun. As someone, I just got my own proving ground, and I'm not as interested in Kaisa. Mostly it was for Master Yi. Master Yi was the one I wanted to play a little bit more. But it's cool to see that now I also have this other deck that is pretty cheap. And I think I mentioned to you like this is actually a deck that I might have like 50 for 50 of, which is
Yeah.
really cool because I'm still collecting my own stuff too and still trying to figure out this game. So there is that. All right, we've got 3 more decks. We've got Yasuo. This one I would be mildly relying on you to explain maybe a couple interactions
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
sure. But Yasuo, both within League of Legends and I think in this game, is very tricky, very complex, very movement based. The effect is pretty basic, right? For 2, you get to just move a friendly unit. 2 are from your base, and but being able to use this like movements kind of one of the most important things in this game. So being able to have a leader that excels in it is really nice.
Yeah, as a fellow League player, I can tell that Yasuo is very tricky. You need to ensure what you're moving, where you're moving,
Mm-hmm.
and because you don't want to do a wrong step, and then use a leader ability,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, I can only move it from base to battlefield. I can't move it from battlefield to battlefield, right? It doesn't work like a charm.
Yeah.
It only is from base to battlefield. But the cool thing that they're running, and I might have to move a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so they are running stack deck,
Sure.
which is again we've talked about before. But what they're running with the stack deck is Nocturne Champion unit.
Yeah.
You might have seen a lot of Teemo decks running this Nocturne unit just because Teemo looks at the top of the cards for different things. But with this deck, you get a Nocturne that has ganking,
Mm-hmm.
and if you see him with stack deck, you play him out for free. So first turn, if you get stack deck and you pull out a Nocturne on that first turn, you are miles ahead of your opponent,
Sure.
right? It has ganking, so you can essentially sometimes capture 2 points with him because if you play him at base, you move him, you basically use your leader ability on your turn, he'll become ready. You use your leader ability to move him from base to one battlefield, get one conquering point, and then because he is not rested, because you use your leader ability, you move him from that battlefield to the other battlefield to get 2 points in one turn. So very early, a lot of opponents, except I guess with maybe Kaisa or Annie, wouldn't have too much to counter that against it because it comes out very clutch. So I think Nocturne is very, very critical in this deck. You'll also see them running Mystic Poro, which is a vision unit. You see the top deck, and you might see the Nocturne, other things. So I think that's why this is a very cool mix
Mm-hmm.
of it's a best of what the Ari deck can do and best of what the Teemo deck can do
Mm-hmm.
into a very hybrid Yasuo deck, which is really cool.
Yeah, and one thing to mention too. So if you to just explain the combo one more time, but if you go second, you start with 3 runes. You spend 1 on
Yeah.
stack deck, and then if you see the Nocturne, then you recycle the 1 rune that you paid. You've got 2 active, and then you can just use your legend ability to just immediately like you turn 1 capture battlefield with a
Yeah.
4 might unit. Then not only do you get that, but there's a good chance that you're able to maintain it. So you get like 2 points early because your opponent's going to have a mildly tough time to interact with that combo, at least efficiently. If they do interact with it, it usually means they have to spend a lot of resources themselves. So the other thing is that the Candlelit Sanctum can also proc that too. So one of your 3 battlefields. So if you get that early, and then you can, play it for free onto, like, help you defend your battlefield. So I think it's a really cool, it's something to build a deck around, and Yasuo seems like it's very sufficient at supporting that gameplay.
Yep. And then obviously the other card I wanted to talk about was Kane.
Sure.
So Kane is the champion unit. If I move twice this turn, I don't take damage. So very deadly combo would be if you have Kane active on your field, you would play the White Flame Protector, which is a staple green card, which is basically when you play me, give a unit +8. So you would play him to give Kane +8. He becomes 14 might. You use your leader ability to move him to a battlefield. It's very tough for other decks to combat 14 might unless they can, basically like fight or flight it or something, right? So basically you conquer that battlefield. He's still not rested. You then move him to a different battlefield because he has ganking. And now because he's moved twice, he doesn't even take damage.
Yeah.
So he's not going to take combat damage. So if let's suppose there's a way a crash is happening where mites for you and your opponent are equal at one specific battlefield during a showdown, that's a crash. He won't die.
Yeah.
So you end up conquering the battlefield, right? So I think Kane is a very underrated card, and I know we're not going to talk about Sett 2, but with the Sett 2 Legends coming out, I think Kane would be a very, very pivotal piece in Sett 2 as well.
Yeah, and one other like kind of thing, because we're also playing like Ride the Wind, right? So even if we're just on 8 and with an empty battle, we can say, all right, so I'm going to play Kane. It's going to come out rested. We'll Ride the Wind, move it to a battlefield, conquer it, and then we get to ready it as well, and then we can gank to the other side, and we don't take any damage when we do so. So that's all the way just from an empty board. That kind of combo is really good, and obviously you can do somewhat similar with your legend effect, but you'd need to. This would have to already be on your base active, but playing this for 6 and just keeping it there is pretty intimidating. So. And then also the other thing is that like a lot of your gear, your spells, they do give like power for the turn too. So like you can buff it once and then like you move it and maintains its not buff is a different word, but you can give it more might, and then it retains that through it. So like as you said, the White Flame Protector is like the hopeful one for it, right? That +8 for the turn is really really good. But those kind of interactions are really nice.
And let's say, if accidentally it ends up dying and stuff, you have Zanya's Hourglass, right? You have Zanya's Hourglass to potentially save him to do the combo in a different way the next turn. So I think Zanya's is the best gear.
And it
I
works
know
really good for this Yasuo, like your champion unit too, right? Like this card's not terrible either, especially since you can just play it whenever you need to as well. So
and the interaction, you need to be very careful because according to the rules, it's when defending instances happen first, then when attacking instances. So this would be then, and then it goes into a showdown. So just make sure if you're moving this Yasuo to deal combat damage, just make sure you have all of those in mind before you move him. But yes, Yasuo is very cool. I think is going to get even more spotlight in Sett 2.
Sure.
This is a deck right now. If I could use with a Sett 2 leader, which is Aurelia, I would probably use it.
Gotcha. So, right, and then we also just like we get draw, we have cycle, and we have ways to we have like find your center as well, which is great at doing both and channeling runes. So. But yeah, I know a lot of people trying Yasuo. I think it's like mildly more expensive, but like the rares aren't like the ones like probably Zanya's Hourglass is probably the most expensive rare in this deck right now, if I was to guess.
Nocturne and Kane aren't that expensive. White Flame is a mythic that is still way cheaper than other mythics around.
Yeah, especially because like even like some builds of Yasuo or Master Yi play it, so I'm surprised it's a little bit cheaper than there, but there it is. So all right, so Div, we've reached the end of the video where I needed your expertise. We're back to Eggman. Central. We've got Sett, the boss here. This is the deck that I've been playing the most.
Yeah.
Jokes aside, I wouldn't say that I'm a master of it, but this deck is really really cool, and I really like what it does. And so it's been cool to see other people do well with it. I would argue to say that it is a top 5 leader or legend in this game. I think that's pretty clear. I know that there's a bit of a step down from the second to third. I would say that he has a good chance to be the third best legend in this game right now. But I won't fight that too hard. If you have another one that you think is third, that's totally fine. But I'm just saying my bias from there. But we did have JeyTCG do very well at an Nexus night this week with it. So and it's playing something pretty similar to what I've been trying, but it did give me some ideas of what I've been wanting to try a little bit. So real quick, if you haven't watched my earlier video, you can do that as well, going over Sett and more in general. But the fact that you have this way to not only have protection, but this can also offer chances for movement as well, which is really cool. So like if you have somewhere at a battlefield, you can like use your own copy of like Hidden Blade to draw 2, and then you get to move your card somewhere, and then that means that you can get that additional bonus there. And again, like being able to have like your cards that are difficult to remove are really really nice. We've got Kiana and Fiora, both these also having deflect essentially. Means that I do think we have like a kind of good Kai'Sa matchup, because they do have to respect how much they do, and also deflect against Kai'Sa when they have to target it twice. They have to recycle 2 runes as well. Karma, I really want this card to be better. Like it's so close. If you look it up, there's like 2 or 3 cards that recycle in yellow, or sorry, in order and mind, and it's just really order and body. I'm so bad with the rune names, but in these two, it's very few. But we are playing sabotage, which does recycle, which I didn't recognize first. So this being able to proc your karma and get like an additional buff on something, I think is great. And obviously this card is good by itself, specifically against Kai'Sa. But also if you're playing against any of Aurora decks, and they're gonna try to play the Aurora next turn, you can be like, nah, bottom deck that. So I think this card has been worth it by itself. So but yeah, I think that's kind of the base of it. I do kind of want to play just even going through this with I do want to try Candlelit Sanctum in this deck, because it can also proc karma as well to give buffs places, so that can be kind of nice sometimes. But this one's really fun. It's a low to the ground aggro deck at times, but there's a lot of interaction with it as well. I've been playing challenge. I've also been playing Call of the Week in this deck, which is really good against Aurora decks. And then last thing is that I think like body and mind have like the best sideboard potential in the game. Unyielding Spirit is just like a really good anti-Kai'Sa card, and then Salvage is a really good anti-Aurora card. So being able to play both of these in the same deck means I don't think you can be bad. I think you can, like, you're a viable deck in a lot of ways.
I think 2 of my first losses were against Sett decks.
Mm.
And I'm not going to say who my first loss was against, but it was what it is.
yeah, we played some games, but again, you were playing Kai'Sa, and I think this deck honestly
Yeah.
has a pretty good Kai'Sa matchup. I've played against like Ari, and it has like a really like they just like individually remove my units, and I feel really bad
Yeah.
about it. But there are a lot of decks that can't get a double removal on a card, and Sett having protection about that every turn is so good. I think it's really what makes this deck shine. So the only other thing is I've been like a little bit harsh on this card previously, but the more I play it, I'm like, it's probably worth 1 or 2 copies, which I think is nice. And then I've been liking Fiora more. The fact that we don't have to recycle anything to play it is actually huge. We do have to be kind of conscious about how much we recycle rune wise, because our legend does have that recycle 1. Not every turn, but it does come up, so we do have to be kind of careful about it. But and then also if we get this card, it's so easy for us to get it early, defend it, and then we don't have to worry about card. Like this is our best battlefield by far. And then the other 2, like this is like a worse version of God Willow. And then I think I do want to try the Candlelit instead of the ganking one, because sometimes I feel other legends take advantage of this card better than I. So but yeah, fun, low to the ground, fun to play. I'd say like medium expensive, because you do need this legendary set, and you probably need 2 or 3 copies, and you do need 3 showstoppers, because this card is part of the reason you win sometimes. But other than that, super fun. So I know I talked for like the whole thing. Div, is there anything else you want to add to it?
No, you covered everything well. You did cover. It is your deck, sir. You
Yeah.
covered it very well. It's your legend.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The only
No,
other thing is that
everything
I was a big fan of this card. This card's been getting worse every week, but
Hmm.
It's still there. Sometimes you feel like you need more cards to buff things, so it does have its place. So
Yeah.
cool. All right, that is the Sett deck. And then lastly, we've got one more, and this is going to be a deck that I'm going to be trying on my stream today for the first time. But we've got Viktor, and real quick, like Viktor's got this weird thing where it's been really popular in China leading up to this point. I think it's been casually like the third most played legend in most big events from there, and it's been having some success. This is a build that got sixth place in the Open in Guangzhou 2 months ago. The DisDude played it at their local Nexus nights and was able to win with it as well. And I do think that this is like a pretty good budget deck, and also this is also one of the starter decks that you can help up convert to it as well. But I think this is a deck that can be really really good against specifically. You know how the Sett deck is really good. I think potentially against Kaisa. I think this deck can be really good against Aurora decks because you have so many good ways to just do easy trades for their cards using your legend ability.
Yeah.
So, what key cards are here for you
I
though,
think,
Div?
so whenever I look at a deck, the way I've now tried to look at it is what can beat Kaisa or
Sure.
Mastery, right? Because they're pretty strong decks. I would like to definitely point out on Singularity, really, really cool card. It's basically, in my opinion, a better Icathian Rain in
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because if they have a lot of deflect units, Icathian Rain can kind of like cost you a lot, right?
Sure.
But Singularities deal 6 to 2 units. Pretty simple. Against Kaisa, if they have two Dariuses on board, boom, boom. If they
Yeah.
have a Kaisa and Darius, boom, boom, right? So it's a pretty cool kill spell. Yes, it's a little expensive for two resources, but I think this is a very cool card that I think blue decks should run.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I know we've talked about it before, but again, this deck also runs Thousand Tailed Watcher,
This is the
right?
majority of
Accelerated.
the cost of this deck, right? Like
Yeah,
this is
essentially.
what $120 with fair prices, and then like
Three cards,
you
yeah.
spend an extra 20 for the rest of the deck, right? I think I don't
Yes,
think there's
essentially,
anything
yeah.
too
Yeah.
outrageously expensive outside that. So
Yeah, because most of the cards you get in the starter deck, apart from even the Grand Stratagem, you get one in the starter deck,
yeah.
right? So Machine Evangel, I think, is a cool card, right? Death Kneel played 3 recruit tokens. So this deck has, from the way I'm looking at it, has 2 win cons, right?
Yeah.
One win con is flood the board, win the game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the second one is basically show up Leona, show up Thousand Tailed Watcher, kind of have those bigger units to basically be dominant on the board,
Mm-hmm.
and then use your spell cards to basically make sure your opponent cannot play enough units and kill their units.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I think how this deck works. I've been a fan of Victor. It's always been my secondary choice
Mm-hmm.
of decks to build. I have not gotten to it just because I've been so busy, but I'm definitely going to build a Victor deck, and I think this will be a base of what I would like to build, and then I'll make my changes based on my play style. But yeah.
Sure, sure. And again, like if you have the 1,000 watcher, tailed watcher, like this deck is very becomes very cheap all of a sudden for the rest of it.
Yes.
I've also been liking Shen. This card's been kind of nice, especially since it can be kind of like an anti-watcher card. The
Yeah.
fact that you play it after they try to attack with it means that you just give it is a bit of an expensive cost because you have to spend 3 runes for it, but being able to spend 3 for essentially a +5 in an area means that if your opponent was just thinking, oh well, they have 2 units here, I mark them down to 1, you can Shen, and then you can just give +5 and trade with this really really well. So
Yeah.
I've been playing a little bit more of this card because I think this can potentially be a really good thousand tail watcher, like respect card in that sense.
Yeah. You have no idea how many times I've been hit with the Shen combo against yellow decks because it's a
Hmm.
reaction spell. So
Yeah.
just like League of Legends, it just starts teleporting to your units, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think Shen is a very, very, very cool card. Arguably, just like how the Thousand Tailed Watcher is a really good rare, I think Shen is a really good rare
Hmm.
for the yellow decks.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's a really good rare. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely
But
gonna
yeah,
put. I think I'm gonna put some of these in the main deck for my testing
yeah.
today, and Yeah, that does help it. So yeah, obviously play as many of these. If you only have like one or two, I think you can still definitely play this deck too. Well, you're trying to get the other ones that are waiting for the price to come down, but it does have like a lot of trickiness. The fact that you also get to play like just a bunch of tokens. I know some people like just doing that kind of mentality. And then also like Hidden Blade, pop a token, draw two, call the week. I have 7 units. You only have 1 on the board. So now if we both lose 1, I'm way ahead. You know, Smokescreen even as like a mini version of like a Thousand-Tailed Watcher, right? Like this already is really good. So it's cool to have these abilities where you kind of sacrifice your small units to be able to help your big units. And yeah, I've been really happy with what this looks like. I'm going to do some testing. Maybe I'll change my mind how much I like about it, but yeah, I think a good way for people to get into this deck, and if they end up getting the starter deck, a good way to kind of upgrade it without having to get a lot of new cards or like cost wise, I think it's pretty fine.
Yeah. And then Grand Stratagem is your end game finisher,
Yeah.
right? All your 1 recruits become 6 might,
Yeah.
right? Nothing your opponent can do about that. Like it gets very tough.
Yeah,
Right?
I really think like the best way to play this deck is you get to 6 points and then you build up your base, and then you can just very easily take both battlefields with Grand Stratagem, like really
Yeah.
easily if you have a bunch of tokens and spots. So
Yep. Yep.
um,
Yep.
really cool way to win in the game like that one. So other than that, I mean, what we can play other good blue cards, but I think these are really. I don't think you'd play Time Warp right with this one, or Time Walk, right? I don't think you need the extra turn. Yeah, Shen's the only card I would say is a tech ad that I would add a couple more copies to, but if you don't have it, don't feel too bad about it. So but yeah, this the end. This ended up being only 40 minutes, so only twice as long as I wanted to. But Riftbound has been like a really complex game. There's so much you can talk about. Even with just one set, there's just so many cards and combos that have been really cool to see. And it's been really great to see just all these people testing a lot of different things. Like even if this is the only game I made content for, right? I feel like it'd take a long time to be able to feel like I explore the card pool, being able to get through all the legends and be good with it. So kind of like the again, the source material, being able to say I commit to, I like this legend, I want to be really good at it. I think this card game's done a really good job emulating that in card game form.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday I made a video, and yesterday was the first time I felt confident in making that video by knowing everything without looking it up. Because I
Yeah.
was like, okay, now I'm getting the feel of it. Because I've played Nexus Knights for 2 weeks in a row now,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, okay, now I understand things. So it is. I agree with you. It is a very complicated game, but yeah.
Yeah, and the sets, the I will say it is one set. It is larger than average set because there's almost 300 cards in this in the game, right? I would say other card games I play that it's normally like 150 card sets or something like that. So that is a lot to dump every set release, right? But it's really interesting, and it's been fun to keep up with this and try to learn it. You guys probably saw I cheat a little bit. I scroll down like the name of the card is, look at it, or like the rune colors I still have to commit to memory, but it's been fun, and I'm looking forward to my playtesting session later today. So that's gonna be it though. Again, if you guys haven't checked out GG Haven, make sure to do so. Make a lot of great Riftbound content and content in general. If you guys want any of the deck lists you guys saw today, you can find them on my website, Eggman Events. We're gonna keep this table up to date as best we can, so if you want to add some other deck lists or have any other things, you can make sure to message us there. And that's gonna be it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you all next time.